So let's talk about a massive shakeup in the world of global aid. What happens when the huge traditional systems we've relied on just fall apart? We're going to dive into the shockwave that took down the old way of doing things and explore the new, incredibly direct and very personal ways people are starting to step up and fill that void.
All right, let's get right into it. To really understand these new models, you first have to get your head around the massive event that created the vacuum in the first place. So back in early 2025, a single executive order just froze all U.S. foreign aid spending. And this wasn't just a temporary pause, okay? This was a decision that sent ripples across the entire planet and ended up dismantling aid structures that had been in place for decades. Now, of course, this move was challenged immediately. There was some really strong legal pushback, and this quote from Judge Florence Pan nails it. She argued the president simply does not have the authority to disobey laws for policy reasons. But, and this is the key part, despite that dissent, a U.S. appeals court ruling in August of 2025 gave the green light, allowing the administration to freeze billions in aid that Congress had already approved.
And the fallout from that? It was instantaneous. USAID, that's the United States Agency for International Development, was permanently closed. And with it, a staggering 83% of the development aid it was managing was just wiped out, gone. Think about that for a second. More than 4/5 of its support vanished overnight.
You have to understand, this wasn't just some line item in a budget getting cut. This was a shockwave. It tore apart partnerships that took decades to build. It broke vital supply chains, and it slammed the brakes on sharing critical knowledge across the entire global health world.
I mean, the sheer scale of these numbers is just hard to wrap your head around. We're not talking about small changes here. Nearly $4 billion slashed from global health programs, and over $6 billion disappeared from HIV and AIDS initiatives. That includes the really important PEPFAR program, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief.
And the human cost of that, well, it's just almost unimaginable. Projections estimated that by 2030, stopping the funding for basic things like vaccines and clean water would lead to an additional 14 million deaths, a completely devastating and totally preventable crisis. Okay, so here's a really crucial point. This multi-billion-dollar void, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was basically dumped on top of huge, already existing problems. Let's take a look at what that void actually felt like on the ground for billions of people.
This chart right here does a brilliant job of showing you the scale of just one of those problems. Even before all the aid cuts, not having clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, what the experts call WASH, was a silent killer. I mean, look at that. Diarrheal diseases make up a massive slice of those deaths. It's a direct result of communities just not having access to clean water.
And the problem goes way beyond water. Just think about energy poverty for a second. 770 million people have no electricity. And get this, 3 times billion people, that's nearly 40% of the entire world, don't have clean ways to cook. They have to use wood or coal, breathing in dangerous pollution right inside their own homes. The aid cuts didn't create these problems, but they made them critically worse.
So this is the fundamental question that came out of all this chaos. When the biggest supporter of global development just gets removed from the board, who steps in? I mean, is it even possible to fill a gap that massive?
But you know, out of that void, a totally different kind of response started to take root. With the massive government programs gone, a new model started to pop up. One that's a lot smaller, way more flexible, and radically direct.
So let's look at the Calusi Family Foundation as an example. They're a registered 501c3 nonprofit, and they were actually founded way back in 2021. So what this timeline shows is that they weren't a reaction to the 2025 crisis. They were a modern responsive group that was already on the ground and able to adapt when everything changed.
Now, what makes this new model so different isn't just about its size. It's the whole philosophy behind it. Their work is driven by this really unique idea they call the happiness doctrine, which directly connects the act of giving to empowerment and well-being.
Yeah, their main idea is something they call happy diplomacy. And look, this isn't just about feeling good. It's actually based on the science of positive psychology. The theory is that when you experience positive emotions, even from small acts of kindness, it literally broadens your mindset. It makes you more resilient, more creative, and better at building the strong community bonds you need to become self-sufficient. So happiness isn't just a result of the aid, it's the catalyst.
And this slide just lays out the difference perfectly. On one side, you have the old, top-down, bureaucratic system with tons of overhead. And on the other, you have this new model, built on being nimble and having a direct impact. It's all about focusing on small acts that create a ripple effect of positivity and empowerment, instead of just creating dependency.
Okay, so that's the theory. And it sounds pretty good, right? But what does this new model of direct, happiness-focused giving actually look like when it's put into action? Let's check out a few specific examples.
Their mission, which they call Give Basic Needs, is incredibly simple and to the point. It focuses on what they see as the three most fundamental human needs, the things you have to have before any other progress can even be possible: food, shelter, and medical care.
And their projects are really targeted and specific. In northern Ghana, they didn't try to solve the entire country's water problem at once. Instead, they focused on projects like the ones you see here, refurbishing 5 specific boreholes to give a steady supply of clean water to communities like Nasugu Mong and Tijenga. It's a real, tangible, and measurable impact.
They've taken that exact same direct approach to medical care. Over in Ghana, they've set up free health screenings for thousands of students at schools like Tamale and Business Senior High. These outreach programs test for malaria, hepatitis B and C, and HIV/AIDS, giving crucial early intervention and health education right where it's needed most.
But their work isn't just about these big community projects. It also includes small, totally random acts of kindness. This quote from Elena Calusi really captures that spirit of happy diplomacy. By surprising people and just paying for their lunch, the goal is to create a little moment of joy and hopefully inspire those people to pay that kindness forward.
So this brings us all the way back to the big picture. We've seen the old system completely collapse, and we've seen the rise of this new, direct, and flexible model of giving. But what does all of this really mean for the future of global aid?
And that's the final critical question, isn't it? While this new model is really inspiring, we're left with this. Is a global movement of small, direct, personal acts of giving actually a scalable and sustainable replacement for massive government programs? Can thousands of small acts truly fill a multi-billion-dollar hole? The answer? Well, it's not clear. And it leaves all of us to think about what the future of global giving will, and maybe what it should, look like.